Good morning. I think it's 27 degrees this morning. It's time for a second installment of a non-planned recurring series of cold weather hot laps. So headed to the track again this morning. Want to do some mile reps and test out some different shoes than what I used the last time when I did this. The last time I did the Vaporfly and I used them last. So today I'm going to give them their best shot and use the Vaporfly first. I'm also using the Vaporfly that I've reserved for racing. So these are a 12.5 instead of a 13, so they're about an ounce lighter. So I'm going to give the Vaporfly their best chance this morning to put down the fastest time. Then I'm going to compare them to the Metaspeed Sky from Asics. I actually haven't used that shoe in a while, so I want to give them another shot to see how fast I can go on the track. And then I'm giving the Saucony Endorphin Speed a chance to prove me wrong. From my previous video, I stated that it's a very comfortable shoe. It's good at long runs. It's good at easy pace, but that it lacks the speed for me that the old model used to have. So I'm going to give that a shot on the track. And then I also have the Endorphin Speed ones. So I'm going to use them last, kind of giving them a disadvantage being the last shoe, and see how they do compared to the Speed 3. Right now I'm actually wearing the New Balance Fresh Foam More V3. So that's going to be my big cushy heavy warm-up shoe. Then I'm going to switch to the Vaporflies and see how fast I can go today. Mile warm-up in the New Balance Fresh Foam More V3 complete. I gotta say, it's pretty cold out. There's a kind of a decent wind right now, so conditions are not optimal for running fast, but we're gonna give it a go. Vaporflies are coming first. Let's go. At like 6:04, so I'm probably close to 6 minutes on that mile. So I did actually run faster than last time I did this. Last time I did this, I had donated blood less than a week earlier, so my fitness wasn't at 100%, so a little bit better today. But the second half of this track, the wind's just blowing in your face the whole time, and it's pretty significant wind. Feels like probably at least 10 to 15 miles an hour. So definitely could have been well under 6 without the wind, but we'll see how this continues with the rest of the shoes. What a huge difference from the More V3s to the Vaporflies. I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer. That's like I was just driving a Pinto and stepped into a Ferrari. It's just like night and day. The lightness of these shoes, how they just explode under your stride, propel you forward. Vaporflies are such a fast, awesome shoe. So that was a good lap, other than the fact that I'm frozen from the wind blowing in my face. So next I'm going to do the Metaspeed Sky. just over a 6:30 in the Metaspeed Sky. I'll get the exact number when I get back home. But I remember why I stopped wearing these. It's interesting, you could definitely feel that they're lighter than the Vaporflies, but I feel like there's no foam in this shoe at all. It feels like you're landing on the carbon plate and it rolls you to your forefoot and goes. So it's almost like you're just landing on that lever. So the shoe is very good at moving you forward fast, but it's very unforgiving. Like, I'm not feeling any cushioning under my feet at all, and I already have some soreness in my arches. I wore these shoes and ran a half marathon that I actually did pretty well in. I ran like a 1:31, but towards the end I got really bad pain in my left heel and rubbing on my right Achilles. I think this shoe is just too stiff. The plate in there is too stiff, so over that longer race it really kind of was unforgiving to me. So even in this 1 mile, it still felt like a light, fast shoe, but much less comfortable than the Vaporfly. I really prefer the Zoom X to the foam that's in the Asics shoe. So now I'm going to get a really nice relief switching to the Endorphin Speed 3 with its really soft foam. So we'll see how that compares. Also, one thing about the speed in these ones, I feel like I really went for it in that first mile into the wind. So I definitely got tired a little bit faster in that second mile. So if I did the Metaspeed Sky first, they probably would have been a little bit faster, but my feet are actually hurting right now. I got to take these off. So about a 6:40 in the Speed 3s. Two things really stand out from that. One, going from the Metaspeed Sky to the Speed 3 is like me sitting on this metal bench with the Metaspeed Sky and then transferring to like a plush leather recliner that wants to massage your back. So the first lap in the Speed 3 was fantastic. I was like, wow, these feel so soft and bouncy. It's such a relief coming from such a stiff, firm shoe. But then after one lap, that wears off, and I get into the problem that I have with the Speed 3s when I'm trying to run fast, where I'm just sinking into them and they're not giving me any pop. So they do give you a nice bounce, they have a nice roll, but it just feels like almost like the toe off is missing from the shoe. Like there's just no stiffness in it at all. So the Metaspeed Sky is too stiff. This is not stiff at all. I think if you combine those two shoes, maybe put the plate from the Sky into this, well, that would basically be the Endorphin Pro. So that's the situation. The Speed 3 is just too soft. The plate isn't firm enough. It doesn't have that pop. So when you're trying to run fast, it just doesn't work for me. It's a very comfortable shoe. That was a nice relief going from the Metaspeed Sky into this, but I ultimately was still slower because I'm sinking into the shoe too much. So now I'm going to close this out with the original Endorphin Speed. So I'm hoping to run a negative split here and do better than the Speed 3s and prove my point completely with data. So give that a try in a minute. Just looking at the profile of these two, tell me which one you think looks like a speed shoe. You can see how much wider the Speed 3 is in the forefoot there, and how the midsole comes out the side there. It's much wider. This is much more streamlined. This is much more, you know, kind of wide and accommodating. Something else that I just noticed too, on this one, you could see the midsole there starting to tear on the outside. I've never had anything like this with the Speed 1. This shoe, I got to double check how many miles I have on it now. It might be around like 30 miles, and I'm already getting some really degradation in the midsole there. These ones have over 170 miles and they're good as new. somewhere around 612, 614 unofficial in the speed ones. So I was definitely faster than the speed threes, even on my last mile rep when I was definitely feeling the most tired. I feel the biggest difference between those two shoes is the feeling of the foam. The Power Run PB in the original speed is definitely firmer, and I feel like it kind of pushes in a little bit and then comes right back. It's much more responsive, whereas the foam in the speed 3 is much more absorbent. Like, it kind of really absorbs all the force you put into it and gives you a little bit of bounce back, but I feel like it kind of stops at the midfoot. Like, I sink in at the midfoot, it bounces me back a little bit, but then it's almost like the toe isn't part of the shoe. Like, it's moved on to the next step before you secure that really good toe off. So I went with a rock theme for the music today. Trying to keep it up tempo a little bit. I was really trying to go for it in the Vaporfly in that first mile there. I'm not quite at my peak shape, but still doing all right. The weather was rough today. That wind was really blowing in my face, slowing me down. But these shoes just feel so good. I love running fast in the Vaporfly. They have that stiff carbon plate, but I can actually still bend the plate. Whereas with the Asics over here, this thing is like, ugh, I can put all my strength into it. I can barely bend it at all. So it's just such an unforgiving shoe. That was something that really stood out to me, using these right next to each other. And this one I really suffered in speed compared to the Vaporfly. This one I did a 6:02, and this one right after it was a 6:29. So I was almost 30 seconds slower. And I think the main reason for that was, as I was saying, I was kind of landing on my midfoot, and I really am not feeling any give from the shoe at all. And then it kind of rolls you onto your toe and has a good toe spring, but it's not giving you a lot of energy return, because I feel like almost like I was running on a stainless steel plate, not a carbon plate, you know, where it's not really, it's just, so it, you know, it sends you on your way. It feels light, it feels fast, but it's just uncomfortable to me. It doesn't have enough energy return. And then just the way the shoe fits me really doesn't work for me. As I mentioned before, I got a really bad blister using this in a half marathon. This one also, I've had some degradation of the foam here. I have less than 100 miles on this shoe, I think 90 something miles, and I stopped using it because it's just really not working for me that well. So it is a fast shoe, it is a light shoe, but this versus the Vaporfly, no contest. The Vaporfly just destroys it. And then kind of what I wanted to do was do a real test with the Endorphin Speed 3. If anyone's watched my video on the Speed 3, I basically said about this shoe, I think it's a very good shoe, but they really changed it a lot from the one. It's just not as explosive, it's not as fast. When I want to turn up the pace in it, it just doesn't have it for me. It feels like it's missing something. And then something I just noticed today, you can see here, I'm starting to have some of the paint come off, the midsole fraying a bit there, but I'm more concerned about this part right here, where really a lot of it is kind of peeling off. Where it looks like maybe they should have extended this strip a little bit further to the side. That's something with the older shoe. They actually have the rubber going completely around the outside of the shoe, and I have no wear on this at all. So this shoe's got almost 170 miles on it, I think 160 something. But you can see the outsole there still looks intact, just a little bit dirty on the bottom. But that was something that really stood out today, where I proved it with numbers this time. You know, I wore the Speed 3, and when I first put these on, again, they felt so great compared to these, because these just beat up my feet for that 1 mile. So that first mile, these felt really bouncy, they felt springy, they felt relief was really what I was feeling. But then I was realizing again that I'm landing on that midfoot, and it's just got nothing for me there. It's comfortable, I sink into it a little bit, but there's just no pop, there's no toe off from this shoe. It just lacks that stiffness completely. So it's very soft, it's a good daily trainer. I'd be comfortable running long miles in this. Like if I wanted to run a half marathon and not push the pace, this would be perfect for that, or a long run. But going fast, it just doesn't work for me. Something that stood out to me again was how well I did in the Speed 1. I basically did a mile warm-up and then 4 mile reps. One in the Vaporfly, the Metaspeed Sky, the Speed 3, and then the Speed 1. So this was the 5th mile that I ran on the day. The first one was at easy pace, and then each of the other miles I was going as hard as I could, you know, in that shoe. So I was pretty tired at that point, and the wind was blowing in my face. I didn't really feel like running another mile, but I put these on and immediately had more pep in my step than the 3, and I finished with the 6:12. So these actually beat the Metaspeed Sky by 17 seconds. They beat the Speed 3 by 27 seconds. So I was significantly faster in this shoe than this expensive carbon shoe and this more expensive, newer version of the Speed. So again, very impressed with the Speed 1. And this is the second time I've done this test where the fourth shoe has really impressed, which is interesting. So the Vaporfly, you know, was the winner of the day. And that one I was really trying to see what I could get out of this shoe, having this be the first one out of the gate. And this is the one that's really my true to size, whereas the one I wore the last time was a half size too big. So these did a great job today of going fast. These reminded me why I don't wear them anymore. These ones, again, showed that they're great for comfort and for long runs, but I just can't pick up the speed in these. And I'm a little bit concerned about this from a durability standpoint, where these ones are the durability king, you know, that I have 3 pairs of these. 2 of them have over 200 miles, and they all are pretty much untouched by wear. So kind of confirmed my thoughts today. And then that was funny where I had that kind of eureka moment there where I was sitting on the bench and talking about how if they combine this shoe and this shoe, we'd really have something, and that's basically the Endorphin Pro. So all right, Saucony, yeah, if you want to run fast, can't buy this shoe, you got to get the Endorphin Pro. So one other one that you might see behind me if you have eagle eyes there is I just got the Deviate Nitro 2. I literally got this shoe today. It came when I got back from my run, so I was kind of annoyed about that because I was hoping to run this right next to the Speed 3 and see how they compare. So that'll be a video that'll be coming soon. So I literally just took these out of the box. I just walked around the house in them a little bit. I feel like already, though, I'm going to like them more than the Speed 3. These ones, the fit of them is much more narrow. It fits me much better in the toe box. I like the tongue in this shoe. You can feel that Nitro Elite foam is very soft, but then it has a little bit firmer Nitro foam in the heel. But the biggest difference, this has that Puma Grip outsole, which I already managed to get dirty somehow. But this has a carbon plate in there, so it's definitely stiffer than the Speed 3. So I feel like this is going to be easier for me to get it up to speed, feel more like a tempo shoe than this one does. So I'm curious to try this one out. I've seen a lot of reviews of this where some people were naming it the shoe of the year for 2022. So I know a lot of people haven't tried Puma shoes. They really just aren't anywhere in stores, so it's very hard to find them. You can find them online. You can go to Puma's website. I don't believe Running Warehouse carries them at all. I actually got this one from Dick's Sporting Goods. I got a Peloton recently and used the gift card from that to buy these. So that worked out as well. So that's all I have for today. In the matchup, the Vaporfly showed how good it was, and the Speed 3 again showed me that it is just not a speed shoe. So like and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.